This is something I commonly hear from moms. How do I fit in self-care when I have zero time for myself? As a mom myself, I do understand that tug of war. I understand that we are the sandwich generation and just everything that comes with that, right? I mean, we're balancing home life and all that that entails. Maybe there's pets, perhaps partners, whether we're together or not, our children, family, the world, work, schools. It doesn't end. I do get it. And especially when you're raising neurodivergent children that require a little more attention and care. It's a lot. If you're new to Glow Within, my name's Katie Connolly. I'm a mom to two, a craniosacral therapist, and a somatic and neuroaffirming clinical counselor. What I do want to say is all of the moms that I work with end up practicing lots of self-care. So it is possible. It's just how we look at it and how we integrate it into our day. Before we get into some practical tools for you that you are able to integrate into your day, regardless of how busy you are, I want to explore a little bit about the nervous system. So one thing that I also often hear is if we just are able to regulate ourselves, then our child will be fine. We can co-regulate okay. Yes and no. So yes, in the sense that if we are truly able to nourish ourselves and actually feel at ease, yes, then our children do feel it. And it does change their experience. This can be tricky though, because for many people who have not been in a place of ease for a long time, who are in a chronic sympathetic state, it takes time to unwind in order to genuinely be at ease. And unfortunately, that's what we're seeing a lot of in our world today. It's due to trauma, it's due to just the energy and the chaos in the world, and of course, many other demands on our plate. So, from a craniosacral perspective, our craniosacral system is really our safety part of our nervous system. So it's scanning our environment, deciding if we're going to respond in a sympathetic and activated state, so like fight, flight, freeze, or if we're going to respond in a parasympathetic rest, digest, connect state. So this is also a reason that I don't like the term regulation. One, we're always co-regulating, so it's not really accurate. Yes, at the age of 25 or thereabouts, we have the ability to start changing our inner state if listen to this, we haven't experienced trauma and we've had a lovely upbringing where we're able to. So there's a lot of work that goes into that as well. And it puts like insane pressure on parents. It ends up creating a lot of shame. And then also the idea of regulation really means like keeping it in the box, right? We're going to like contain it, whatever, so that we're not disruptive to others. And that goes in the face of somatic work. I've said this for many, many, many years, and thankfully it's starting to become a little more mainstream. But the whole idea behind somatic work is to understand our experiences, to honor them, and then to be able to process them safely and in a healthy way. So yeah, I'm not a fan of the term regulation for lots of reasons. So when we look at our nervous system, like I just mentioned, we have the sympathetic and then the parasympathetic states. So our bodies decide how we're going to respond to the sensory input that we're receiving. So that fluctuation between the sympathetic and parasympathetic is measured by heart rate variability. And so if it's more flexible, that means we have healthy heart rate variability. If it tends to be a little more rigid, usually stuck in more of a sympathetic, so fight, flight, freeze, kind of fawn states, there isn't that flexibility. It's rigid, and we see a host of other concerns. So if we're in a chronic sympathetic state, which is very unfortunately common in our day today, or in our world today, we see things like burnout, IBS, depression, a host of concerns. And our children do feel that. Our children might also be experiencing that. So childhood burnout is a real thing. I've talked about this before. We just usually don't see it as adults might present, because it usually starts with dysregulation or behavior regressions or big behavior, big meltdowns, etc., that unfortunately go unnoticed until the child is really in deep, deep, deep distress and burnout. So some things that you can do for yourself, and I've again said for more than 15 years, micro things, little things that you can do. Yes, it would be lovely to get a spa day every week. Is that reality? No. So why are we striving for that? And in that same sort of vein, looking for micro shifts in ourselves rather than this elusive perfection. And perfection goes into a whole other thing. So what can you do for yourself in those moments that not only support you and bring you joy, but also allows you to model in front of your children? And this is really important when we're raising neurodivergent children who might be more of the observers, or maybe they seem to be opposed to whatever we're doing, sort of that PDA presentation. So how can we model? They're watching, they'll get curious at some point, and then we can teach them rather than asking them to do it. Take care of ourselves first, right? We always put on our own mask first. So something that I do is a gratitude practice. Yes, this may seem hard at first if you're really stuck, and if you are really stuck, please reach out to me. I'm more than happy to help. But a gratitude practice is huge. It releases dopamine. It releases all sorts of happy hormones that actually can create physiological changes in our brain and our body. So 3 things that you're grateful for every morning, and you're welcome to refresh this again every evening. That can be a really lovely way to also fall asleep and help our children have a more calm sleep. Understanding your somatic reactions. And so this is where I work a lot, is so when we're noticing, let's say, those bracing patterns, right? When we're noticing that we're kind of in that fight or flight, however we tend to respond, or freeze response, noticing that, what are we feeling in our body? Honoring it, right? Again, this aspect of like honoring our emotion, honoring what we're experiencing, and then we can start to unwind. Equally as important is also noticing like that joy and that sense of ease, right? So that's where we want to start to shift. And I have lots of tools to help you with that. Knowing your triggers and knowing what supports you, right? So what are your sensory supports? It's important to know that for your child, but also for yourself, right? I dive quite deeply into this in my Preventing Burnout Guide, or Authentically You Without Burnout. And the last thing I think is really important, but can be very hard, particularly for moms, is asking for help. So honoring our capacity, and whatever we can't do either has to be set aside. And trust me, I struggle with this one too sometimes. Or we have to ask for help. But if we don't honor our capacity, then we do end up in burnout. And I have been there. This is why it's so important to me to do those somatic check-ins throughout the day, to notice where my energy and capacity is at, and to make peace with the fact that I have done the best that I can. I've done what I can to be in line or aligned with my intentions, and the rest is just going to have to go. So for me, one of my core values is my health, because if I don't have my health, I can't be there for my family, my children, and I can't lead my clients in a way that really honors them and with integrity, right? So it's so important for me to walk my talk. So if you take one thing away from this, I'd love for you to think about what are your top 3 values. And again, I go into this in Authentically You Without Burnout in quite a bit of depth. But yeah, what are your top 3 values and how can you honor them and try to let the rest go? And then, of course, that gratitude practice. So these are little things that we can do. I'm not suggesting you do anything huge. If you can, that's amazing. But what are those little micro shifts and really honoring yourself? So if you want to learn more about preventing burnout, just comment below and I will send you the burnout guide or preventing burnout guide, and I will see you in the next video.